Hey everyone, I welcome you all to this session. And in this particular video, we will be creating a Power BI report on the data on individuals killed in the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians since the beginning of Second Intifada in Israel and in occupied territories, right? So, Second Intifada refers to September 2000. So, from September 2000 to September 2023 we have the data, so we will be analyzing that data and we will create a Power BI report based on that data only. So you can refer to the Betsalem's website, and I will be providing the link to this website in the description box below, so no need to worry about that. Apart from that, we will basically be publishing the report that we will create to Power BI service. So you are required to have a free Power BI account. If you are not having a free Power BI account, then you can create it without having a work or a school account. I will be providing the link to that video in the description box below, so you can first of all create a free Power BI account, and then you can start watching this entire project video, right? So that's the thing. Now let's click here on explanation. First of all, I would like to tell you that this Betsalem's database provides statistics on two topics, the first one being house demolitions and second one being fatalities. So we will be analyzing this fatalities data. So let's click here on explanation, and here you can see that it says that the database provides statistics on all human beings, Palestinians, Israelis, and foreign nationals killed in the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians since the Second Intifada that broke out in September 2000. So moving on to the next page, you can see that they have clearly mentioned the way they have carried out the investigation and the way they have collected the data. So they tell you that they have collected the eyewitness accounts, official documents, photos and footage of the incident, etc. So you can read this particular page as well. This talks about the way they have collected the data. Moving on to the next page, they write that regarding most of the fatalities, they indicate whether or not they participated in hostilities. So basically, the data set that we will be using, it has a column by the name participation in hostilities or took part in hostilities. So the definition of participation in hostilities, they say that it relies on the principles of international humanitarian law, that is IHL, and it has changed over time, right? So that's the thing that they have actually mentioned here. And if you want more information about it, you can refer to the content on other pages as well. You can read these paragraphs. And once you've gone through all these paragraphs, all these pages, you are required to click here on all data, right? So then when you will click here on choose period, you can see that here we have before operation cast lead. And if I'll click here on this info tip, then you can see that before operation cast lead refers to the period September 29, 2000 to December 26, 2008. Similarly, we have during operation cast lead, so it covers the data from December 27, 2008 to January 18, 2009. Similarly, we have since operation cast lead, that is 19 January 2009 to September 27, 2023. But we are going to analyze all the data. So I will just simply click here on all data, right? May take some time. Just refresh the page. And then in the main data section, you can see that we have these charts. And from these charts, you can simply download this data. So you can just simply click here and download the data. If it does not allow you to download more than 10,000 records, let's say in the case of this first chart, then you can just simply click here on this number and you can download the data from here, right? It may take some time. Yes. So once you have downloaded the data like this, you have downloaded all the files, you can then keep all these files, the data from all these charts, you can just simply download that data and you have to keep that data in one folder, right? Like I have created this folder by the name new folder. And in this folder, these are the files that we have. We will be using this data for the reporting purposes. So you can simply download the data from their site and you can keep it in a separate folder like this. When we will start creating or begin with creating a report in Power BI desktop, then we will bring the data into Power BI desktop using the folder option. So we will use this option to get the data or to bring the data to Power BI desktop, and then we will start analyzing, right? So that's the thing. So you can just simply download the data from here. You can keep it in one folder, and then we'll be using this data to create the Power BI report. So I hope that's all for this session. We'll meet in the next session. Hey everyone, I welcome you all to this session. And in this class, we will discuss about importing the data into Power BI desktop. And we will use the folder option to import the data to Power BI desktop. And then we will use that data for reporting. So first of all, you can see this folder. I've downloaded all the files from Bethlehem website. And then this is the data that is available to us. It is basically, there are 7 files, and these 7 files basically consists of the data. We are required to basically append them, and then we will use them for reporting purposes. Because if I'll open any file and if I'll show it to you, then you should see that it is having some columns, right? For example, there's a column by the name, then we have date of event, then we have age, citizenship, event location district, and so on. So similarly, all of them, all the tables, all the sheets are basically consisting of a same number of columns with same data type, right? So we are required to append these files, and then we will use them for reporting purposes. So how can we do that? I am going to discuss about that now, right? So this is the folder that consists of our data set, or you can say the files that we are going to use for analysis. So let's minimize this, and I will open Power BI desktop. It may take some time for Power BI desktop to open. Close it, and then I will just simply click on get data, then click on more, folder, connect. Now you are required to provide the path of the folder. So I'll just simply click on browse. Right. Then we have this folder, and inside this folder we have one more folder by the name new folder. So I'll just simply click here on this folder, and I'll click on OK. So these are the files from which we want to import the data. Now I will click on transform data. If I'll click on transform data, it will take us to the Power Query editor. Power Query editor is basically nothing but the heart of Power BI, because here you can do all sorts of data transformations, right from deleting the rows, deleting the columns, replacing null values, etc., and so on. So there are a lot of operations that can be done. So I will first of all simply click here on transform data. And now in order to get the data or import the data from these files, I will add one more column. So here you can see on the top we have add column tab. I'll simply click on it, and then here we have custom column option. So I will click here on custom column, and here I will write Excel, and it will show me the the options that I can use. So I will use excel.workbook, and inside the parenthesis you have to write the name of this content column, and then close it. Content column is this column that you can see, right? And here you can see that there are no syntax errors. Simply click on OK. Now click on this custom column which was now added, right click on it, and then select remove other columns. So it will remove all other columns. Now we want to expand this table, so I will click here on this expand button, and I do not want all the columns, I just want this data column. So I will select it and OK. Now again I'll click here on this expand button, and these are the columns that we will get, right? We can load more, and I'll just simply click on OK. So this is the data that we have, and we are basically going to use this data only for the analysis. Now you can see that the names of the columns are custom.data column 1, then we have custom.data column 2, then we have custom.data column 3, and so on, right? And when you will have a look at the first record or first row, you will see it basically this is the row that consists of the names of the columns. So I will have to actually promote this first row as the headers. So I will simply click here on home tab, and then I will click here on use first row as headers. So now you can see that these are the columns that we have that we are going to use for the analysis. And we have name, then we have date of event, we have age, we have citizenship, and so on. Like these are the columns that we are going to use for the analysis, right? If I'll click here on column profiling based on entire data set, by default Power BI will show you the column profiling based on top 1000 rows. If I want to see or have a look at the column profiling based on top 1000 rows, then you can just simply click on column profiling based on entire data set, right? And now you can see that we have some errors in this column, that is date of event and age column, right? So now I'm interested in knowing about these errors. So I will simply click here on keep rows in home tab, and I'll click on keep errors. And when you will read or go through all these records, since we imported the data from a folder, and this folder was having multiple files, and these multiple files must be having a column name or a header. So that's why when these files were appended or combined, then in that case you can see that here during the combination or during appending these queries or tables, you can see that the header row appeared multiple times because multiple times were having the column names or the headers, right? So you can see this, like we have name, then there's an error because like you can see the error that they could not parse the input provided as date value. Similarly here you can see that we couldn't convert to number. And when you will have a look at the other column names, then you can simply see that these are nothing but the column names, right? So it is quite evident from here that these are nothing but the column names. So it is required to remove all these records because these records are basically of no use. So from the applied steps, I can delete the steps or delete if some I've taken some action, or if I've performed some data operation transformation on the data, I can delete that step from here. So as of now, I'm deleting this kept error step, and now I will click here on this date of event column, and then I will click on remove rows, right? Here you can see that these records which are creating the error or which lead to the error in our data set are basically of no use for us because these are nothing but column names which are appearing more than once, right? So the solution is to simply remove them. So I'll click on remove errors, and then I'll select remove rows, and then remove errors, sorry. And now you can see that there are no errors, right? If I will click on this view tab, then you can just simply have a look at the column quality, and you can see that there are no errors. 0% error is there, right? You can have a look for all the columns. So as I've already discussed and previously in my previous project videos as well, I've talked about this view tab or the column profiling. So it is very important to check the column quality, to have a look at the column profile, and to go through the column distribution as well for each column, right? So I've already discussed about this, but in this manner you can just have a look at the valid values, errors, and empty values in each column. You can also know about the column distribution. At the same time, you can also know about the column statistics or column profiling, right? And you can have a look at the value distribution as well. So whenever we start with the reporting work, the most important thing is to prepare the data, prepare and structure the data so that it can be used for the analysis purposes. So that's why we transform the data in Power Query Editor so that we can use it for the reporting purposes, because the data that we get is not always clean. Like in this case also, you saw that while we tried to import the data using the folder option, there were some errors that appeared. So it was required to remove these errors. Only after that we can go for the reporting purposes. And there are some other data cleaning steps that we are going to talk about and discuss in the next session. So I hope this video and this session was helpful. But one more thing, there is one more thing that you have to keep in mind. You are just required to apply the changes. So you can just simply click on the home tab, and then you can just click on apply. So all the changes that you have made, all the errors that you have removed, all the changes will be applied, right? And you will be here in Power Query Editor only. If you want to go back to the report view, then you can just simply click on close, and it will take you back to the report view. This is the report view, right? So we will discuss about more data cleaning steps in the upcoming session. We'll meet in the next session. Till then, thank you. Bye. Hey everyone, I welcome you all to this session. And in this session, we are going to discuss about data cleaning, and we will transform the data, clean the data in the Power Query editor. So we will generally basically discuss about Power Query editor. This is the report view of Power BI desktop. And now in order to head over to the Power Query editor, you are required to click here on transform data. This is the Power Query editor. And in the Power Query editor, we have some columns. That is, you can see these columns. We have only one table that we are going to use for analysis. In the beginning, we had multiple tables, but we appended them by using the folder option. We imported the data, brought the data to Power BI desktop. Now you can see that since all of them have been appended or combined, so here we have a single table that is having name new folder. You can rename it from here. You can just simply double click and you can rename it. So you can just name it as, let's name it as data table, right? So this is the query or the table that we are going to use for our analysis. And these are the columns or the fields that it has, right? We have name field, then we have date of event, that is on the date on which the event or the attack took place. Then we have age of the individuals, then we have citizenship, and so on. So we are going to discuss about these columns, right? First of all, as you can see left on the left hand side here in the bottom left hand side, that we have column profiling based on top 1000 rows. If you want to know or are interested in knowing about the column profiling for the entire data set, then you are simply required to click here and you can select column profiling based on entire data set, because by default Power BI will show you the column profiling for top 1000 rows only, right? Now there is something called view tab. So you can just simply click here on view tab, and now we have something called column profiling, right? So, sorry, data profiling. So in the data profiling, you must check these boxes, that is column distribution, column profile, and column quality. And you should check the column distribution, column profile, and column quality for each column before going to the reporting part, before beginning with the reporting part, right? And if you find any kind of error, empty values, null values, or if there is any other problem, then you should first of all clean the data, transform the data in the Power Query editor itself, and only after that you should proceed for the reporting part. Because if there are errors or empty values, or if there is any other kind of problem in your data, definitely your analysis is going to be erroneous, or the report that is going to be created or generated will definitely be an erroneous one, right? So it will not give you exact, accurate, and good results. So that's why it is very important to clean the data in the Power Query editor. So you can do that here. Now for some time I'll just simply uncheck these boxes, and first of all I'll tell you about these three entities, that is column distribution, column profile, and column quality. So if I will check only this box, that is column quality, then column quality actually shows you that what are the valid values, errors, and empty values in each column, as you can see here, right? So this shows you, if you will hover your mouse over to this area, this will show you that these are the percentage of the valid values, errors, and empty values in each column, right? We will have to treat the empty values, so we will discuss about that. Now if I click on column distribution, so this will tell you about the distinct values and unique values in each column, right? The column distribution tells you about the distinct and unique values. Unique values actually refers to those values which are occurring only and only once in a given column, right? And distinct actually refers to different values that are occurring in a given column more than once. So that's the difference between distinct and unique, and this is shown in column distribution, and this is very important. Column distribution is very important when you have multiple tables where you have to create a relationship between different tables, and you have to identify the primary key. You have to establish relationships between primary key and foreign key between different tables, so it becomes important there. So you can see and check the column distribution from here. If you want to know more about your data, then we have column profile, and column profile will tell you that these are the values in a given column. In this manner, you can see in the form of a bar graph, and it will also show you the count, the error values, errors, empty values, distinct, unique, empty string, minimum, maximum, all that it's going to show you, right, in this manner. So that's the thing. You have to keep all these things in mind. And there is one more most important thing that you have to keep in mind whenever you are creating a report using Power BI. You must check the data types of each and every column, because that is again also the most important thing, right? That's the point. So as of now, I want to treat the data, and I will be adding some more columns which will be required for the analysis, and we'll be removing the empty values as well in some of the columns. So now let's discuss about that, right? So I will uncheck this box now. Fine. If I'll talk about the first column, then we have name column, and you can see that there are, since we have already opened the column profiling based on entire data set, so in this particular column there are no null values. As you can see that this green colored line is like that, there is no portion where this line is missing. This is completely filled, right? While in the case of the age column, you can see that there's a small gap. Since there's a small gap, it means that there are some empty values or null values in this particular column, in age column. So we have to do something for that. And if there are other columns also like this, then we will have to do something for that. So first of all, if I talk about the name column, and if let's say I want to distinguish between any two columns, then I will not be able to do so by using the name column, because two people can be having same names, right? So in order to distinguish two records, any two given records, I will be adding one more column in this particular table, and I can achieve it. I can do that by using this particular option. I will simply click here, and here you can see that we have something called add index column. So I'll be adding one more column. You can start from 0 and you can use the custom option as well, but I'm starting from 0. So from 1. So it will add one more column, and this column will be used to identify each record uniquely, right? And this column is added in the end. I want to move this column to the beginning. So I will simply right click on this column and I'll move it to the beginning, right? This column is having the name index. I want to change its name and I want to rename it as ID. So I will double click on its name and I'll write ID here, right? So that's the thing. Now it is having the data type 123. When I'll click here on this, 123 actually refers to that this particular column is consisting of whole numbers, right? So that's fine. This column is having whole numbers. You can change it to text as well, because we are not interested in like using any mathematical operation like finding out the average or finding out the sum or something like that for this particular column. So you can change it to text as well, but you can keep it whole number as well. So that's not the problem. Let's change it to text. So that's the point, right? And using this particular ID column, we can identify or any given record, and we can distinguish between two records as well, any two records. So that's the purpose of this column. Now we have date of event. Date of event actually refers to the date on which the attack or the event took place, and there are no null values in it. While for the age column, there are some null or empty values. So when I'll click here on this drop down and I will click on load more, you can see that we have null values as well in this particular column, right? And we have different ages. We have 0 years, 1 years, 2 years, and like this is the age of the people. It tells you about the age of the people who were killed in the incident. So we are actually, for our analysis, we will be using a column which will be based on or which will depend on this particular column, that is age column, and we will directly not be using this column. So we will use an option named adding conditional column, and we will add a conditional column, and based on that column we will create a chart, or we will do some analysis. We will use it in our report basically, right? So that's the thing. Now first of all, I want to remove these null values, and I want to know about what does the age equal to 0 years mean, right? Because nobody can be having 0 years of age, but what does it mean here? I'm interested in knowing that. So first of all, I'll click here on select all, and then I'll click on 0, and I'll click on OK. And in the end, we have a column by the name notes. So I will head over to that column, and when you will read the description, so you can see that a day old infant, oh my god, like a 7-month-old infant or 3 months old. So 0 years of age refers to infants, right? So we will be adding a column based on this age column, and we will be using that column for the analysis. So 0 years of age in this particular data set refers to infants, right? So that's the thing. And I will delete this step, that is filtered rows step, because I want my complete data set. And this is the data that we have, and based on this age column we want to add one more column. So under this add column tab, there is an option of adding a conditional column. I will click on conditional column, and if age column, or if the value in the age column is equal to null, then I want the value or the output in the new column to be unknown. Because if null is there in this column, I'm considering it to be unknown, that we do not know the age of that person, right? That's what it means. If the age is less than 1 years of age, then the output should be infants. If the age is less than or equal to 12, then we want to put them under the category children. If the age is less than or equal to 17 years, then let's place them under the category teenagers. And if age is less than or equal to 65 years, let's place them under the category adults. And if there are people with more than 65 years of age, then we want them to be placed under the category older adults. So it will add a new column by the name custom column, and then we will use this column for our analysis. So I will name this column as age groups, and I'll simply click on OK. So you can see that a new column has been added, and this age group column actually tells you about the category in which a given individual who died or was killed is placed, right? So these are the categories that we have, and now you can see that there are no null values, because in place of null values in the conditional column, we said that we want unknown to be written there, right? So we have a category unknown here, right? So that's the thing. That is, it refers to the people about whom we do not know their age, right? So that's the thing. Now let's talk about other columns. Already talked about the age column. We are not going to use this column directly in our analysis, so let it be as it is. Now we have citizenship column. This tells you about the citizenship of the person who died. If I'll click on the drop down and I'll click on load more, you can see that these are the categories under which different individuals are there, and they were killed actually. So this is the category. These are the different categories. If I'll talk about the event location, or if I'll talk about the location at which the attack took place or the event took place, then it refers to the location, that particular location. This column tells you about the district of the event location. Similarly, here we have region for event location. Then we have date of death. So we have two columns for date, the first being date of event and the second one being date of death. So there could be cases where, let's say, an attack or an event took place on a given date. Let's say, for example, a rocket was fired on somebody on a given date, and like after 10 days or 8 days that person died. So the date of death will be different from the date of event. So we have two different columns due to these types of reasons. So we have a different column for date of death. Then we have gender. It talks about the gender of the person, and we have these following categories, that is female, male, and not available. And then we have next column, that is took part in hostilities. For further clarification on the definition of this particular column, you can refer to Betsalem's website. I've already told it to you about it in the first lecture. You can also Google it. And if I'll click here on the drop down, then it will tell you about the various categories or the various values that it has. We also have null values here, and we have unknown here, right? So I want to replace these null values also by unknown, because we do not know about it. We have null values here, so that's why I want to put the null values also under the unknown category. So I will replace this null by unknown. So I will just simply click here on this column, then I'll click on transform, and then I'll click on replace values, and here I will write null, and I will replace this null with unknown, and then I'll click on OK. If I'll click on the drop down, so these are the following categories that we have. and you can see that there are no null values now in this particular column. And also you have to keep one more thing in mind. If whatever changes you have made in the Power Query editor, if you want to apply those changes, then you will have to apply it from here. You are required to click here on Home tab, and then you can simply click here on Close and Apply, and then you can click on Apply. And now the changes that you have made are applied, right? That's the thing. Now let's talk about the other column, that is we have place of residence. It talks about the place where that person resided or used to stay. So this is the column. You can also check the data types of each of the columns. So this is having text value, so that's why it is having the icon ABC that you can see on the top left corner, and it refers to text data type. So that's fine, that's not the problem. But sometimes Power BI may detect the data types wrongly, so in that case you have to make that correction in the data type, because this is also one of the most important things you must keep in mind. If there will be a problem in correctly identifying or in properly identifying the data types, then definitely there are going to be errors in the reports. You will be creating inaccurate reports if there are going to be problems, if there are problems with the data type. So you must check the data type of each and every column, right, in all the tables that you are going to use. And here also we have, if I'll click on the drop down, here also we have null values. I want to replace these null values by unknown, so I will just, or you can simply write not available. So I can just simply click here on this column. Under the transform tab we have replace values, and I will replace null values by unknown, or you can simply write not available. Fine. Now there are no null values in this particular column, that is place of residence as well. Now I will click on place of residence. Here there's a small gap, so you can see that again there are null values in this district column, place of residence district column, and you can see it here. So again, for this particular column also I want to replace these null values by not available. So I will simply click on replace values, and I will write null, and in place of null I want unknown to be there, and I'll click on OK. Now you can see same is the case with type of injury column, and you click on the drop down, you can see that these are the various categories. But again we have null values, we want to replace these null values by unknown or not available. So you can simply replace these null values by, you can write unknown or not available, whatever you wish to. I'll simply click on OK. Now you can see that there are no null values in this particular column. Same is the case with ammunition. So these are the following categories under this ammunition column, and I want to replace these null values by, let's say, not available or unknown. So we can simply click here on replace values, and we will replace these null values by NA, and I'll simply click on OK. Then we have killed by column. This tells you that whether the given person was killed by Israeli civilians or Palestinian civilians or unknown Israeli party, etc. So this column tells you about that particular thing. And then we have a column where notes are given for any particular person who was killed or for whom we are having this data. So here also you can see that there are actually null values or empty values. So I'll click here. When I'll click here on this drop down, you can see that these are the notes, and this list may be incomplete, right? So you can see that these are some of the notes that it shows you, but since there are a large number of values, so it displays a message that list may be incomplete. But since I'm viewing the data, the column profiling based on entire data set, so here there are some empty values that I can clearly see from here. So I'll just simply click on replace values, and here I'll write null, and in place of null I will write not available, and I'll click on OK. Now you can see that there are no null values or empty values in this particular column, right? So that's the thing. Now we have added this column, that is age group column. If I will talk about the data type of this column, since it is a date column, but the icon shows ABC123, so I want it to be a text column. So I will just simply select this text from here, and now it's perfectly fine because this is having the data type text. as we already know that these are the values that it consists of. So we are basically going to use this particular column that is based on the age column in our analysis. And since I am interested in applying all the changes that I've made and I want to stay here in the Power Query editor, so I'll click here on this drop down near close and apply, and then I'll click on apply. If you will simply click on close, it will not apply any changes in the Power Query editor and it will simply take you back to the report view in Power BI desktop. If you will select this close and apply option, this will apply all the changes in the Power Query editor and it will take you back to the report view. Since here in this case, I wanted to apply all the changes and I want to remain here, I want to stay here in the Power Query editor. So that's why I have clicked on apply. Now, once I've applied the changes, we can go back to the report view. So I'll just simply click on close. So that's how we have cleaned and prepared the data for the reporting purposes. We'll meet in the next session and then we will start creating the report. So we'll meet in the next session. Till then, thank you. Bye-bye. Hey everyone, I welcome you all to this session. And in this class, we will discuss about the report or the insights that have been shown on Betsalem's website. And we will also talk about one of the United Nations website to see how in real time the reporting is done, how the data is used to show insights and do the analysis, right? So here you can see that in Betsalem's website, I'll be providing the link to this website in the description box below. As I've already said, they have provided different filters on the left hand side, and then they have created these 5 bar charts on which the data is represented, and they have basically created different categories. Here we have Palestinians killed by Israeli forces, then we have Palestinians killed by Israeli civilians, and similarly Israeli civilians killed by Palestinians and Israeli forces killed by Palestinians, and then we have Palestinians killed by unknown Israeli party. If you will select any particular, let's say if I'll talk about this area filter, if you will select any particular area, let's say you have selected Gaza Strip, then you can see that these 5 charts will get filtered accordingly, right? And the data will change accordingly in all the charts. So that's how they have done the representation. And if let's say I will click on any other filter, let's say if I'll click on killed by, and if I want to know about killed by Palestinians, so if I'll click on this particular filter, then you can see that these 2 charts are available here, right? So they have represented the data in the form of these 5 visuals on this particular page, and they have provided all these filters, right? So we will be creating a similar type of Power BI report. We will not be creating exactly same report, but a similar type of report, just in order to show it to you that how in real time these reports are used and the data is analyzed. I'm just giving you an example of this particular website. They must be bringing the data from the database and then they are representing this data here, right? They're representing the insights here on this website, on this particular web page. If I will open this particular United Nations website, then you can see that they have used Microsoft Power BI for representing this data, for representing the fatalities. So here they have created different sections. As you can see, they have represented these Palestinian fatalities, then Israeli fatalities, Palestinian injuries, and Israeli injuries. If I'll select, let's say, Palestinian fatalities, so they have provided different filters, like this is the date filter, the date on which the incident or the event took place. If you will apply this filter, then the whole report will get filtered accordingly. If you will select the area, let's say if you have selected West Bank, then this whole report will show you the data for West Bank, right? And here they have used different types of charts in the map visual as well for the analysis, for representing the insights, right? While on this Betsalem's website, they have used these 5 bar charts in order to represent the data. Right, we have downloaded the data from here, from Betsalem's website, and this particularly from this section, that is main data section, and we will be using this data for the analysis, and we will also be creating a report to represent the insights, right? And this is United Nations website, and they have used Microsoft Power BI. So just in order to show it to you that how this particular tool is used for reporting purposes, and then you can actually publish these types of reports to the website, and then the data that has been analyzed or the data that we want to represent or show can be shown or represented, right? So that's all for this session. We'll meet in the next session and then we will begin with the reporting part. We will start creating the report. We have already cleaned the data in the previous session. learned about cleaning the data in the previous session. So till then, thank you. Bye-bye. Hello everyone, I welcome you all to this session, and from this session we will start with the reporting work and we will start creating the report. So first of all, I want to add an image, so I will click here on insert tab and then I will click here on image, and since this is the image that I want to add, so I will simply select it and I will resize it and I'll place it on the top. So I have created this image using Canva. You can simply insert the text using this text box option. So that's the thing, and you can simply write this text, that is any heading that you want to give. But I have created an image with this heading, so I'm placing this image at the top, right? Now I want to create some visual filters, right? I want to add some filters, and using those filters we will be able to filter the data in this report page, right? So I will first of all expand this visualizations pane, and then I will click here on this slicer. A slicer is nothing but a visual filter. I will simply click here on this slicer and this will create a blank slicer for us. I will resize it and let's place it here at the top. Double click and simply resize it like this. And let's say in this first filter, visual filter, we want to represent the event location. So we have a column in our table by the name event location. I will expand it, event location region. So in this particular slicer, I want this region to be represented. So I will simply, after clicking in this on this particular visual filter, I will click here on this event location field, and here you can see that this represents the event in this way. But since I want the style of the slicer to be changed, so I will select the slicer, or having the slicer selected, I will click here on format your visual, and then from slicer settings I will change the style and I will make it drop down. So now when you will click here on this this all option that you can see on the screen, this will show you the following options, right? So these are the regions in which the attack or the event took place, and whatever data or the insights we will be representing on this particular report page, we want that we should be able to use a visual level filter. So for that purpose we have used this filter, and we will further create the report, it will become more clear, right? So that's the thing. Now there is one more filter that I want to add. So I will simply click here on this particular slicer that I've already added, Control C, Control V, and I'll move it here, right? And I'll keep it here. And now I want some other field to be represented in the slicer. So first of all, I will remove this event location region from here. And then let's say I want to represent event location district in this particular slicer. So I will select this event location district from here. And when you will click here on this drop down, you can see that these are the locations that are being represented in this particular slicer. Again, similarly, I will click here on the slicer, Control C, Control V. I will move it here. And let's say in this slicer, I want to represent the place of residence district. So I will first of all remove this particular field from the slicer, and I will add this field, that is place of residence district, from the data pane. So this shows you various places of residence where the people who were killed, their place of residence will be represented in the slicer, and then we can filter the entire report page based on this particular slicer. So that's the thing. Now again, I'll simply click here on this slicer, Control C, Control V. I'll move it here. And let's say now I want to represent the field took part in hostilities in this particular slicer, because I want the report page to be filtered using different categories in took part in hostilities column, right? So I will select this field and I'll simply double click on it, will drag and drop it here in field section or field bucket. And there is one more slicer that I want to create. So I'll first of all click on this particular slicer that I've already created, Control C, Control V, and I'll move it here. And I will remove this particular field from the fields bucket, and let's say I want to represent the killed by column or killed by field in this particular slicer. So I will double click on this field from the data pane and will simply drop it here in the fields bucket. So you can now see that this is being represented here, right? And as you can see that we have used 5 slicers on the left hand side, and since I want that all of them should be equally spaced, so I will simply select all of them. I'll press Control and then I'll select first slicer, second, third, fourth, fifth, and then you can see that we have format option here. I will click on format, align, and distribute vertically. So now you can see that these 5 slicers are equally spaced, right? So we will be using these 5 slicers and you will get a better understanding of the report and the insights that we will show once we add more visuals to this particular report page. So we'll meet in the next session. Till then, thank you. Bye-bye. So, all right, we will now be adding an area chart to our particular report page so that we will be able to represent the number of the fatalities by year, right? So first of all, I will expand this visualization pane and I will click here on this area chart. And now you can see that it has created a blank area chart for us. And I will expand this data pane. And from this data pane, I will double click here on this field, that is date of death, and I will simply drag and drop it here in the x-axis bucket. Now I will drag this ID column from the fields pane and will drop it here in the y-axis bucket. I already told you that we created a new column by the name ID, and this column was actually basically being used to distinguish between any 2 records, right? Because we cannot use name field to distinguish between any 2 given records. So here we have added one more column, that is the ID column, and here we are representing nothing but the count of the ID that shows or represents nothing but the number of the individuals, and this date of death field actually tells you about the date on which the death took place or the person died, right? So I will simply resize that this area chart, sorry, and I will place it here like this. Fine. So here you can see that this represents nothing but the number of fatalities by year. So I want to do some formatting in this particular visual. So I will first of all click here on this visual, and then I will click here on format your visual option in the visualizations pane. And first of all, here we have this grid line section. I will expand it. I do not want the vertical and horizontal grid lines, so I will simply change it to off. Right, so now you can see that there are no grid lines. And first of all, I now want to change the color of the line as well. So I will first of all select this particular chart. Then I will expand this line section. And under this colors, I will select, let's choose pink color. So I will select this particular color, right? Fine. That's okay. Now let's say I want to add markers as well. So I will again select this particular chart. I'll click on format your visual and I will change this markers to on, and we can also change the color of the markers. So from here we can change it, and let's change it to 20% lighter. Let's choose this color only, right? So that's it. Now let's say we want to add a border as well to this particular visual. So again, I'll click here on this format your visual option, then general, effects, and you can add a border from here, and you can change the color of the border as well. It's black, so let's keep it black only, right? So this is the border that we have. Now I want to change the title as well, and I don't want this count of ID and these numbers to be represented. I instead want data labels to be there in order to represent the data. So I will again click here on format your visual, and from this x-axis, I will change this x-axis to off. No, I will not change this x-axis to off because this x-axis is representing nothing but the year. So I will change this y-axis to off, and I will change this title in y-axis also to off, right? And I will change this data labels to on, and I will also change the unit of the data labels. So under this data labels, you can select values, and then you can change the display units to none from here. Fine. And you can change the color of the font as well. So let's keep it black. Fine. And you can change it to bold as well. Right. Now let's change the ears which are being represented along the x-axis. Let's change the font style and color. No, not the color, but the size. So we will change the size as well. It's already black. No, we will have to change the color as well. So let's change it to black, and we will keep it bold, and we can change the font style as well. So let's keep it Georgia. Yes. And now we can change the title as well. So I will simply click here on this chart, format a visual, general, title, and I will write number of fatalities by year. And I want to change its alignment as well, so we can keep it center. And we can also increase the size of the font. We can keep it bold, and we can choose any other font that we want. Let's keep it Arial Unicode MS, or you can choose any other font style that you want to. Let's choose any design. Let's keep it Georgia only. So yes, and you can keep it underlined as well if you want to. Title, and then we have, yes. All right. So this chart now represents the number of fatalities by year, and you can see that at some places this number of the fatalities that is being represented is being represented or shown below the markers. I want it to be shown above the markers, all the numbers to be represented above the markers. So I can change a small thing for this. I'll just simply click here on format a visual option and from this markers, no, from data label section, we can change the position. As of now the position is auto, and I will change it to above. So now you can see that the numbers are being represented above the markers, right? And when I will hover my mouse over to any marker, you can see that it shows the year. That is, for example, as of now, you can see the year 2021 on the screen, and then it shows you the number of the fatalities, and then it shows you count of ID. In place of count of ID, I want number of fatalities to be written. So for that purpose, I will simply click here on this chart. Then I will click here on add data to your visual, and I will, under this y-axis bucket, I'll double click on this count of ID, and I'll rename it from here. So I will rename it as number of fatalities. Now when you will hover your mouse over any marker, this will show you number of fatalities in place of count of ID, right? So that's the thing. And there is one more thing that I want to tell you. You can clearly see that the number of the fatalities have reduced from let's say from this year 2012 to 2013, and then it suddenly increased in 2014, and then it reduced again. So you can see this trend, and here you can see that in 2023, from the data that is available to us, the number of the fatalities are 254. So that's the thing. You can see this trend, and you can see the number of the fatalities from this chart. There is one more thing. As you can see that there is this option, click to turn on drill down. If I will click here on this option, and now if I will click on any marker or any point, let's say if I'll click on this particular marker, this will drill down and will now give you the data of different quarters for the year 2014, right? Now when you will hold your mouse to this area, it will show you according to the quarters. And let's say if I will now further click on any one of the markers, then it will further show me the data of the months in that quarter, right? So that's how you can further drill down and get more detail about drill down and get more insights about the different number of the months or about different dates as well. Like for example, if I'll click here on August now, so it will show you according to the different dates in August that what were the number of the fatalities in this particular month in year 2014. Now you can simply click here on drill up, and this is the chart that we have created, and you can unselect this option. And if you will click here on this option, go to the next level in the hierarchy. This will show you the data for the quarters, different quarters, right? So you can see for the data for quarter 1 of all the years is being represented, data for quarter 2, then data for quarter 3, and data for quarter 4. Similarly, if you click on it again, then it will show you the data according to the months, January of all the years, February of all the years, March of all the years, and so on. And if you will further click on this option, then this will give you the data according to different dates, right? And you can hover your mouse over to this area and you can see the data or see the insights according to the dates as well. Now you are required to simply click on drill up, and this is the chart that we have created. Also, if you want to use these slicers, let's say if I'll click on Gaza Strip and I want to know about those fatalities where the event location was Gaza Strip, so I can simply click here on this particular option and you can see that it now shows the data for Gaza Strip. So similarly, we can use other slicers as well. Let's say, for example, if I want to know by event location, so you can select any particular location. Let's select East Jerusalem, and then it will show you the data accordingly, the filtered data accordingly. So these are basically the filters or slicers that we have provided, and then we can filter the data according to these slicers, and then we can have a look at the insights, right? So that's this thing, and we will be adding more visuals to this report. So we'll meet in the next session. Till then, thank you. Bye. So now we will be adding some more visuals to this report. So let's say I want to represent the number of the fatalities by gender. So for this purpose, I will be using a table visual. So I will first of all click here the blank area in the canvas, and then I will simply click here on table visual. So this is the table visual that we are going to create. So you can see that it has created a blank table visual for us. Let's place it here. Right. And the data that we want to represent in this particular table visual is that we want to represent the number of the fatalities by gender. So I will click here on in this particular table visual, blank table visual that we have created, and I'll simply drag this gender column from the fields pane, data pane, and will simply drop it here in the columns bucket. And now I will drag this ID column from the data pane and will simply drag it here, drag and drop it here. Now I want the data that I've represented, I want the count of the ID to be shown, because the count of the ID will be representing the number of the individuals. So I want the count of the ID to be represented. So that's the thing. That's what I've selected. So you can see that we have the count of the females as 1473, while for men is 10,504. And for the individuals for whom the gender is not available in the dataset that we have 20 such records, right? So it is representing that particular thing here. Now let's say I want to increase the size of the column headers, so that we can do that as well. I will simply click here on this particular table visual, then I'll click here on this format your visual option, and from here you can see that we have column headers, and from here you can increase the size. All right, if you want to keep it bold, you can keep it bold, and if you want to change the font style, you can change the font style from here. You can choose any other font style as well. All right, fine. And if you want to change the table style, then you can change the style as well. As of now it is default. If you want to keep it none, you can keep it none as well. And if I'll talk about the text or the column headers, then you can change the color to black. So let's change it to black. And let's say if you want to add a vertical grid, then you can add a vertical grid from this grid section, and I will change this horizontal grid to off, and I will change this vertical grid lines to on. You can change this horizontal grid lines also to on. So I think it's better now. And you can also add a border to this particular visual. So just simply click here on general, And in this, under this effects section, just change this visual border to on, and you can change the color to black. It is already black, so that's okay, that's all right. And you can further increase the size of the font for the headers if you wish to. So you can simply increase the size from here. Yes, so let's keep it 14, and this is a visual that we have created. So here it represents the number of the fatalities by gender, and since we want to change this, the name of this particular column, that is count of ID, so you can just simply click here on this visual, and then under this column bucket you can double click on this count of ID, and you can change it to number of fatalities, or you can just simply write fatalities. Fine. So this represents the number of fatalities. You can resize it. Yes, now let's add one more visual to this particular report, where we want to represent the number of the fatalities by citizenship. So for that purpose, I will be adding a bar chart, and I will just simply click here on this particular canvas, and then I'll click here on this stacked bar chart. This will add a blank bar chart, as you can see on the screen, and further resize it. Right. And in this particular bar chart, I will just simply drag the ID column from the fields pane. I'll double click on this column, and I will simply drag it along the x-axis. And similarly, I will drag this citizenship field from the data pane and will drop it here in the y-axis bucket. So here you can see that the fatalities by citizenship are being shown. Now there is some formatting that I want to do in this particular chart. So I will simply click here on this chart, and then I will click on format your visual, and under this bar section I can change the color, and let's select this color. Fine. And under the y-axis, let's change this y-axis to off. Let's change this x-axis also to off, and let's change the title. Let's keep the title also to off along the x-axis, and along the y-axis also we should change the title to off, because we will further be using data labels and the title of this particular chart to represent what does each and every particular category mean, but we should represent the individual categories. So we can change this y-axis to on. Yeah, now it's comparatively better. And I will change this data labels to on. And since I want the exact numbers to be represented, I do not want in thousands, so I will further expand this data labels, and under this values section I will change the display units to none. And let's select black color. Let's keep it black. Similarly, for the data that is being represented along the y-axis, let's keep the color to be black. Let's keep it bold as well. And similarly for the values also, the data label, sorry, we will change that also to bold. Right. So I think it's readable now. You can further resize this chart. And for this chart that we have, we will have to change the title. So I will simply click here on this bar chart that we have created, and then I'll click on format your visual. Under the general section we have title, and here I'll double click on this, delete it, and here I'll write fatalities by citizenship. Fine. You can increase the font size, and you can keep it bold, you can keep it black, and you can change the alignment from here as well. And if you want to make it underlined, and you can underline it as well. So this is the bar chart that we have created, If you further want to add a border to this chart, you can just simply click here on this chart, and then from here, that is format your visual option, under this general section, effects, just change this visual border to on. Let's keep it black. It's already black, so that's fine. So these are two charts that we have added. And now if you will select any particular category, or select any given particular category from any slicer that you have on this particular report page, then entire data that is being represented on this particular report will be filtered according to that. For example, if I'll select this, let's say Israel, from the event location, then the data on the entire report page gets filtered accordingly. And you can clear this particular slicer, clear the selection from here, and now it again shows all the data without any filter being applied, right? So we will add more visuals to this page. So we'll meet in the next session. Till then, thank you. Bye bye. Hey everyone, we will be adding some more bar charts or some more charts to this particular report page. So the next chart that we are going to add is a bar chart where we'll be representing the number of fatalities by age group. So again, I'll expand this visualizations pane, or you can just simply, since we have already done all the formatting that we wanted in this bar chart that we created, so I will simply click here on this bar chart and Control C, Control V. I'll copy and paste it, and I'll keep it here. And I'll just simply change the fields that I want to represent in this particular chart, right? So I will resize it, and I will expand the data pane, and I want to represent the fatalities, but not by citizenship, by the age groups column that we created, right? When we were discussing about the data cleaning steps, I already talked about it. So I will remove this citizenship column or field from the y-axis bucket, and I will double click here on this age group column, and will simply drop it here in the y-axis bucket. So this now shows you the fatalities by age group. So I will simply click here on this chart, and then I will click here on format your visual, and now I'm required to change the title. So I will simply click here on title, and in place of citizenship, I will write age groups. And I want to change the color of the bars as well. So I will simply click here on this visual, and here under the bar section, I can simply change the color from here, and let's choose this color. So now this particular bar chart represents the fatalities by age group. I want to create one more bar chart in which I want to represent the fatalities by injury. So I will simply select this chart, and since I want the next chart to be having same formatting as that of this bar chart, so I'll simply copy and paste it, and I'll move it here, and I'll further increase the size, and in place of this age group column in the y-axis bucket, I will select this injury column where we have it, type of injury column, or the field from the data pane, and I'll double click on it, will drag and drop it here in y-axis bucket. So now it shows the fatalities by different types of injuries, right? So we are required to change the title. So I will, having this particular chart selected, I will click here on format your visual, and under this general section, click on title, and you can change it from fatalities by age group to fatalities by type of injury. Okay, and now we can change the color of the bars as well. So having this particular bar chart selected, simply click here on format your visual, and under this bar section, you can change the color from here, and let's select this particular color. Now I want to add one more bar chart in which I want to represent the fatalities by ammunition. So I will simply select this chart, Control C, Control V, and I'll place it here. You can further resize it according to the needs, and increase the size from here. And in place of this type of injury column, you are required to place the ammunition field from the data pane. So I'll just simply double click on this particular field, and will drag and drop it here in y-axis bucket. So this now represents the data in this particular column. As you can see that the data that is represented along the y-axis, we cannot see complete names. In order to uh, see the complete names along the y-axis, you can just simply click here on format your visual, and then under this y-axis we have something called maximum area width. So you can increase it to 50%, and now you can see that live ammunition, missile, shell, all the names are clearly visible. Rubber coated metal bullets, etc., all the names are basically clearly visible, right? And you can change the color of the bars as well. So just having this chart selected, simply click here on format your visual, and then under this bar section you can select a different color. So let's choose this color. So it now represents the data. You can choose any other color of your choice and you can represent the data. Also, we are now required to change the heading or the title for this particular chart, that is fatalities by ammunition. So I'll just simply click on format your visual, general, and under this title section I will write fatalities by ammunition. Right. So this is a report that we have created, and we have tried to show or represent some of the insights. You can represent more insights and you can get different types of insights from the data, and you can also at the same time you can use different types of charts as well. So it totally depends on you, but this is an example of that how data can be represented. I have already shown it to you that how data is represented on United Nations website, and what is the type of the report that has been created by them. They have created a Power BI report only, and how the data is represented. And I've also shown you the B'Tselem website. So they have also represented this data, and they have also provided the filters. So we have also tried to create a report using that data, right? So you can also create a different type of report according to your own thinking, your own mindset, and you can take the reference from this particular report that we have created. That's the thing. Also, for this particular table visual, I think let's expand the visualization pane, and in place of fatalities, let's write number of fatalities. Number of fatalities. So it's fine now, and this is a report that we have created. If you will select any particular, let's say any particular region, for example, let's say you want to select this particular filter and you want to know about the insights for, let's say, West Bank, so you can simply select West Bank and it will show you the data for West Bank. And also you can further drill down in this line chart, right? So we have already talked about the drill down option as well. Let's say if we want to know about killed by, let's say we want to know about the number of the people or the individuals killed by Palestinian civilians, so you can just simply select it and the data will be represented or shown to you on this particular report page. So in this manner you can use these filters and visual filters or slicers to filter the data, and then you can get the insights about the data that we have tried to represent using this particular report, right? So I think that's all for this session. We'll meet in the next session. In that session we will also be talking about how to use the visuals from app source. These are some of the visuals which are default visuals which are available in Power BI desktop, but there are some other visuals, a large number of other visuals which can be taken from, which we can download from the app source, and then we can use them for the reporting purposes. So that's the thing that we are going to discuss in the upcoming sessions, and we will also talk about row level security, and we will discuss about publishing the report to Power BI service and all that. So we'll discuss about all those things in the next session. Till then, thank you. Bye bye. Hey everyone, so we will now be using the visuals from the app source. We will basically be downloading a visual by the name word cloud from the app source, and we will then use it in our report, right? So if you want to download any visual from the app source, or if you want to publish the report to Power BI service, then you are required to have a Power BI account. If you do not have a free Power BI account, then you can create a free Power BI account by watching the video in the description box below, and I will provide the link to that video as well. If you're not having a Power BI account, you can create a free Power BI account, right? So that's the thing. Now I am required to sign in because I want to use and a visual from the app source, and I will then use it in my report. So I will, as you can see that as of now I have not signed in, I will just simply click here on this particular option, and here it shows me that I have to enter my email address. So I will provide my email address, test1pbi at the rate test1pbi dot on microsoft.com, and just simply click on continue. It may take some time. Okay, so I will click here on this account that I'm going to use, and now I'll have to provide my password. So enter. All right. Yes, so we are required to enter the code. Verify. Right, so we have now signed into Power BI. Now I will simply basically expand the visualizations pane, and here you can see that we have 3 ellipses. So this is nothing but this shows you get more visuals. So I'll just simply click here on this particular option, and I will click on import a visual. No, I will click on get more visuals, and here you can search word cloud. So here we have this word cloud by Microsoft Corporation. So I will just simply click here on this particular visual. May take some time. And then I'll click on add. So you can see that this visual was successfully imported into this report. I'll click on OK. And now I will add one more page to this report. So I will just simply click here on this plus icon, and it will add a new page for us, right? Now I want to create a word cloud. So I will just simply click here on this word cloud, and it will create a blank chart for you. You can move it anywhere and you can resize it. And now we were having a column in our data set which is named notes. So there are some notes about any given individual person who died. So we will be representing this notes in this particular word cloud. So I will expand this visualization pane, and under this category bucket, I will just simply drag this notes field from the data pane and will drop it here in category bucket. Let me take some time. So now you can see that all the words which are present in all the sentences are being represented in this word cloud. And since I want to change or turn the rotation to off, so I can just simply select this chart, click on format your visual, and you can change this rotate text to off. And this simply shows you the number of the times any given word was used, right? So if I'll hover my mouse over to this area, then it shows that this word, that is it was used 4,147 times. If I'll just hover my mouse to this particular word, that is killed, then it was used 2,230 times. So similarly, the words which were used a larger number of times or a higher number of times are being represented by larger font size, right? So that's how the word cloud can be used. And let's say I want to I do not want any title here, so I'll just simply click here on this chart, general, and I'll change this title to off. So this is a word cloud that we have created. If you want to add a border to this word cloud, you can just simply expand the visualization pane under this general effects and change this visual border to on. That's it. So this is the thing. And here you can see that different words which were used different number of times are being represented. So that's all for this session. We'll meet in the next session. Till then, thank you. Bye-bye. Hey everyone. So I welcome you all to this session. And in this session, we will discuss about row level security. And basically, we are required to create the roles in Power BI desktop, and then we have to validate these roles in Power BI service. I would like to take an example to explain it to you that where row level security is useful. Let's say you have created a report, and that report consists of the data for different regions including Germany, India, and there are other regions as well, right? Now there's a manager or a person who looks after your work in Germany region, and you want that when that particular person will open the report of the dashboard, he should be able to see the data only for Germany region, because that is relevant for him. Or the person who is working in the Indian region, he should be able to see the data that is relevant for his area, right, where he is working. So for these type of situations, you can implement row level security, and we are required to create the roles in Power BI desktop, and then you can validate these roles in Power BI service once you have published this report to Power BI service. So we will discuss about validation and all that stuff in the next session, but here we will discuss about creating the roles in Power BI desktop. So let's say under this modeling tab, there is this manage roles option, and you are required to select it. Now, let's say I want to create two roles. The first role will be role one. Just in order to explain it to you, I'll be creating two roles. So, role one will be the role where the person belonging to this role who will be provided access for this particular role will be able to see the data only for men, while role 2 will be able to see only women's data, right? So I will just simply click here on create, and I will name this role as role 1, and then I will select the filter that the filter that I want to add. So I want the gender to be, in place of value I can write M, and then I can just simply click on save. So this is a role that we have created. Now I want to create one more role, so I will just simply click here on manage roles, and I will click on create, and I will name this role as role 2, and then again I will add a filter for this particular role. So the gender in this case should be equal to female. In our data set, we are representing male and female by letters M and F. So that's why I have used these letters here, and I'll simply click on save. Now we have created these two roles. In order to test these roles, you can just simply click on view as, and if I will select role 1 and I'll click on OK, then you can see that the data gets filtered on this particular report page, and the data only for men is being shown, right? When I'll click on stop viewing, right, so now whole data is available. And if I want to test the second role, so I can simply select role 2 and I can simply click on OK, right? So you can see that the data only for females is available, and this entire report page is now filtered according to the role that we have selected. So just simply click on stop viewing. That's it. So that's how you can create the roles, and in the next session we will discuss about publishing the report to Power BI service and validating these roles. Till then, thank you. Bye bye. Hey everyone, I welcome you all to this session, and now let's discuss about publishing the report to Power BI service. So as I've already told it to you that if you want to publish the report to Power BI service, so you are required to have a Power BI account, right? And you are required to sign into that Power BI account. If you do not know how to create a free Power BI account, you can refer to the video mentioned in the description box below. Now this is the report that we have created. I'll simply click on, under the home tab, I'll click on publish, and I've already signed in, right? So I'll just simply click on publish. Do you want to save changes? Yes, save changes. And let's say I want to publish the report to my workspace. So I will just simply select this my workspace. You can simply double click on it, and the report will be published to my workspace. It may take some time. So the report has now been published. I will just simply click here on this report. Right, so this is the report that we have created. You can select the filter, and You can see your data here. These are the visuals. This is the report that we have created, and our report is having 2 pages. So this is the second page and this is the first page. Now let's click on workspaces, and we have our report in my workspace. So I'll just simply click on my workspace, and the report that we published is this report, that is Israel Palestine fatalities, and this is the data set that we have, right? So in this data set, I will simply click on 3 ellipses, and then I will click on security. Now here you can see that we have 2 roles, that is the role 1 and role 2, right? If you want to test these roles here, you can just simply click here on these 3 ellipses, and you can just select test as roles, right? So you can see that the first role we created, in which only the data for men will be shown. So you can see that the entire report page is filtered accordingly. You can clearly see in this particular table visual. And similarly, you can test the second role as well. Now let's click on my workspace, and this is the dataset that we have. I'll again click on 3 ellipses, security, and now you are required to provide the email addresses of your colleagues. Like for example, for role 1, there is some particular email address, or there is some particular colleague. You will have to provide his email address here, and then you will have to save it here. And after that, when you will share the reports with them, they'll be able to see only filtered data that is there for role 1, because their name or their email address is added under role 1. Similarly, you can add different emails or different names under role 2 as well. And then when you will share the reports, when they will view the reports using their account, they will see only filtered data, or the data that is relevant for them. So I hope that this